Welcome to the podcast of disaster. I'm your host, JCR1216, and joining me is co-host Normal Person.
Yes, it is me. I am here. First time ever speaking on the podcast of disaster.
Yeah.
Be a great journey for both of us.
And speaking of the podcast of disaster, this is our very first episode.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. Well, let's begin, and I feel like there is no better way to start off the first episode with our main joke being about the Sonic Cinematic Universe than talking about the latest installation in the Sonic Cinematic Universe.
Man, that's going to be quite the intrigue.
Mm-hmm. So, what were your initial thoughts on the film?
I'd say it's a pretty fun film to watch as a fan and with the family. Got to watch it myself on the weekend with my sister and my mother and parents. I'd say it was pretty fun. Some good lighthearted jokes and some neat little references for anyone who plays the games. How about you?
I saw it twice actually. The first time I saw it was like the second day after it came out because I just wanted to see it like immediately first because I was afraid of spoilers. And thank God I went to go see it when I did. I was super excited, goosebumps getting out of the theater. I went to go sit down in a bookstore to like sit down. I sit down to just absorb everything. I open up my phone to go to YouTube. I go to YouTube Shorts. The very first video that pops up on my Shorts feed was the post credit scene.
Oh, yeah, great. The internet being the internet.
Yeah, the internet is just not fun, especially if you're a Sonic fan. But this film was fun. My little brother, who I went to go see it with the second time, and my dad really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as well on my second rewatch. Everything about it was fun. It was great. But you guys didn't come here for a YouTube Shorts level podcast. You came here for a overall in-depth review. So let's get started with the humans. Everyone's favorite part of these Sonic movies.
Indeed.
So I like what they did with Tom and Maddie this time around. I think this is their best performance since the first film. Personally, for me, I thought the second movie was fine. I liked Tom punching people, but they actually felt more like Sonic's parents, like they did in the first film.
Yeah, pretty nice of them to be more involved in the hijinks, like higher stakes and more pressure, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Them going a part of the scheme with Sonic and Tails was fun. I liked the little bit of them doing so much in so little time while Team Sonic was gone. I loved the puppet bit with Tiny Tom. That to me was the funniest part of the human stuff when it comes to Tom and Maddie.
Yeah, I don't know what to list for human stuff. Just it's like for me, I'm easy to please in terms of what I can find enjoyable. So I'd say the human stuff is pretty enjoyable for my end.
I do like the fact that they do not show you at all in the trailers and the stuff, the things that happen with Randall and Rachel. I was not expecting them to be undercover like that.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to see them pretend to be the actors that they weren't.
Well, yeah, gotta be a heck of a role.
Definitely. And I think that's what made me really enjoy them this time around. They weren't given their own subplot. They were put into the film.
Yeah.
And speaking of somebody else that was put into the film, Wade.
Yes, our good old favorite character, Wade.
I didn't think he would be in the movie, especially after like not being a part of any of the red carpet stuff or any of the things. So it was nice seeing Wade in the movie, and it did make the Knuckles show briefly pay off. I am a little confused why it's hockey instead of bowling, what we get to see Wade doing with the Master Emerald, but it was really fun.
I mean, to be fair, can you really bowl with an emerald?
I guess you could. Oh yeah, true. I guess.
Yeah.
But to go back to Tom and Maddie, the final thing that I will say about them is I really liked the fake out with Tom and Maddie with Tom's supposed death.
Yeah, it really was very, very heart. I don't know what to say. Heart tugging. My words. Just full on. Oh, Tom, no, he's the family man. The father figure of Sonic. Oh, man. And that especially comes to resonate with some people who may have lost their relatives during that time.
Yeah, that scene was something to witness. And speaking of other human elements, Gun in this film was very interesting, but we'll get into them later when we talk about Shadow and Maria. But to cap off the final bits of the humans, the Eggmen, both played by Jim Carrey, was fantastic.
Indeed, they were.
I wasn't expecting Jim to double take when I originally watched the trailer when it came out because everyone was like waiting for the trailer to come out. We were like, who's gonna be Gerald? Is it gonna be old man? I remember when Christopher Lloyd was brung on to do Knuckles before he realized he was gonna be Pachacamac, or I can't pronounce the Knuckles tribe leader to save my life, but I'm gonna roll with it. I was so surprised that it wasn't Lloyd and that fact they were doing Jim Carrey twice. It didn't really feel like Jim and Gerald were ever the same actor. They felt like two different actors.
Oh yeah, you really did play off being two separate characters, even though we can tell they're quite clearly the same actor.
Yeah, besides that fourth wall joke, like throughout the rest of the film, I kind of forgot that, oh my god, this is Jim and Gerald. This is not Jim and Gerald, Jim Carrey doing both roles, and I think that is incredibly cool to see. I'm all for double acts, but usually when you have a character voiced, whenever you have a live action character, you never have another live action character with them as a duplicate, unless it's like a character, an animated character.
Oh yeah.
I also like what they did with Gerald overall in this film. He feels a little bit off from what we get from Gerald in the games, but the brilliance is there, the wanting to destroy the world is there, and he's just overall just feels way wiser than Eggman. I mean, I think Eggman is the overall smarter person, but Gerald is a wiser Eggman.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to know that he is alive and he actually is more involved in the story than compared to what he was in Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, I'm happy that they removed the scene of him getting gunned down from what we get to see in SA2. That probably wouldn't have kept the film at a PG rating.
Yep.
But I'm really happy with the fact that we do get to see brief bits of Eggman, who was called Ivo a lot by Gerald, which was very interesting because that probably connected with him on a more human tone. Because throughout these movies, besides Stone, Eggman doesn't really have anybody. It's just his machines. It's something that's been there since the first movie. Is nobody else. And there's a line that Jim says as Eggman, unappealing to any gender, besides Stone, obviously, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
So, the final part about their dynamic, before we talk about the final act, which will be later, is just the overall that scene where we get to see Maria die in that explosion. That was, to me, the best acting that Jim Carrey did throughout the entire movie. The look of loss and destruction on his face is just so unsettling.
I really love the Shadow and Maria stuff in this movie. Their chemistry and everything just really shows in such a short amount of time, especially for like in an hour and I think 40-minute movie. It's been a while since I checked timestamps.
Yeah, I think it's like an hour 39 at tops, and I really do agree with you. I also agree with the fact that it is kind of short for what we see with Shadow and Maria, but I love their dynamic. They feel like siblings, and not love interests, Stephen Colbert.
Oh yeah, don't want that kind of BS, do we?
That is something that, I mean, there is love there, but it's more of a sibling love, and you get to see that throughout the film, especially with them eating popcorn. It reminded me of me hanging out with my little brother, watching TV and like having movie nights along with my other siblings. Now, I'm not the older sibling, I am the oldest, but just that sibling dynamic where we get to see them dance, play, sing, talk under the stars. When I was watching with my little brother, that hit me really hard. Now, you said that you did have siblings. Did that ever occur to you when you were watching Shadow and Maria on the big screen?
Yeah, we really, sorry. Yeah, had some siblings. Do enjoy, had some movie nights. We play games together, watched fireworks, and all that sort of fun stuff. It's all we can do.
Yeah, and it felt so nice. Even as said earlier, even though how short it is, like you feel it when Maria dies. You feel like you feel the loss for Shadow there, because it's like, oh my god, like Maria's gone, and they did handle it a lot better. She doesn't get shot on screen, and she doesn't have her illness, which is an entirely different thing, and she's not in space. But they did get her death, I think, better in the games. I mean, in the movie than they did in the games.
Yeah.
That
Quite
entire.
interesting.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, quite interesting that you brought up lack of illness. Pretty bold move on their part, but then again, not everything has to be one-on-one, one-to-one with the games.
Yeah, and it's so nice to know that Jeff Fowler said himself that they wanted to get Shadow and Maria's dynamic done right first, and I will say, Mr. Fowler, an incredible job on you and your staff, Pat Casey, Josh Miller, all of them, fantastic job on Shadow and Maria's dynamic. That really did blow me away as someone that has done some writing on the grand scale of other people have done, like yourselves, but it is so amazing what you guys did. I wish there was a little bit more, but for what we got, I would say that's an overall like 9 out of 10. The actress Aaliyah Brown, I believe that's her name, was brilliant as Maria. Probably the if there was child acting Oscars, I would say that she would deserve it because she was just that good at being Maria. As someone that played Sonic Shadow Generations, which really had her only big game appearance being throughout the entire game, she captures Maria's spirit so beautifully. And I have nothing but positive things to say about her as an actor, and I look forward to see what happens to her for the rest of her career because she is fantastic.
Yeah, she really delivered on the innocence and joy of Maria Robotnik.
And we can't talk about Shadow and Maria without briefly going over what Gunn does in this film.
Oh yeah.
Gunn is very interesting to me in this film because it isn't like the second one where they just get pulled out of nowhere in the middle of a wedding scene. They're much more of a. They feel much more as a company in this film, not to the same level as it is in SA2. Like I still think Gunn is a little bit of a joke in this film, but they still feel like a force to be reckoned with. And I think the best scene that summarizes that is them building the arc. Gunn knows how to make things, so it was really cool to see the building, and it was really cool to see director Rockwell, who I think will be playing a much more difficult villain role in future films if they go with the way that they were setting her up. But that's a conversation for another day.
Oh yeah.
What were your thoughts on Gunn, Normal?
Oh yeah. I thought they're pretty interesting. I do love the setting of the gun headquarters. Obviously they are more involved as a sort of obstacle in the way of the characters, both villains and heroes. Loved how they just decided instead of just going after Sonic because, well, he looks like the Hedgehog, they decided just to recruit him. Because what better way to fight a black and red Hedgehog than blue Hedgehog and red Echidna and yellow Fox?
Yeah.
All right.
They have a good way of actually giving us a better reason of why Gunn is going after Team Sonic than just because of the key, which brings me to the key to this film, at least that's what I thought they were going with, was Commander Walters. Commander Walters has a very interesting presence in this film because with early on I thought, oh my god, Walters was the one to cause Maria's death, but no, it was an inadvertent mistake because he was the one that was trying to jank the gun away, which resulted in firing into that I think it was like a tube or like vial of stuff, which resulted in the accident that destroyed Maria, and then him putting Shadow away for 50 years is something that shocked me on my first viewing.
Oh yeah, quite interesting that he was trying to trying to avoid any casualties, but it was all an accident this time around.
Yeah. And we don't really get to see the like aftermath of Maria's death because it's just Shadow goes into the thing like that. Shadow goes into the tomb for 50 years, Gerald goes mad, that type of thing. But no, they actually give us more background because throughout the film, it does feel like Walters does, still have guilt about the entire situation. Because young Walters was very kind and was really good to Maria. So it just hurts it that much more, especially we can see that Shadow still has a lot of built up anger to Walters, especially in that scene where we thought that Walters was Tom.
Team Sonic. Team Sonic, or just Team, since that's what their name is. There was so much thought. Like, they are more involved than ever before, I guess. It's hard to say. Just very cool of them to work together, and how the whole overarching message for them is be the team that they are, especially since how some of them have their own problems themselves. But they just sort of just rough it on together. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree. It was nice to have a full movie because they do feel like a team. Like even though in that the third act breakup scene where we get to see go see Sonic go off to find the Master Emerald from Wade, like that was a mutual understanding. It wasn't just a full on dramatic break off. They're still family. They're still a team. Even though Sonic's being blinded by rage and anger, Knuckles still believes in Sonic, which is really interesting to see because I feel like that also was kind of a payoff of Knuckles because I feel like if movie 2 Knuckles dealt with Sonic before the Knuckles show, then I feel like we would have saw another Sonic versus Knuckles fight.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to see. Knuckles and Sonic fight. Oh man, that would be something.
Yeah, almost like there was an entire movie with them fighting in it.
Yeah,
But that is something that is really interesting in this movie is that they do cooperate. Knuckles feels a lot more like modern Knuckles in this film. But he's a little bit more goofy in this film. The joke with Tails looking like Pikachu was funny. He felt more like the Knuckles that we know. He's lighthearted, but he takes things more seriously, and that's what I like about this portrayal of Knuckles over the games for the most part. Is Knuckles is seen more as a threat than he does in previous games.
yeah, Knuckles. Very much. I will say, yeah, Knuckles is my favorite in the trio. Just he takes things so literally, and yet he's so serious. I love the joke about him basically annihilating glass in case of emergency.
Yeah, that entire bit was hilarious to me. I'm glad that you brought it up. The fact that we get to see the Flames of Disaster as well when he does come in and save the day was another really cool nod to the Knuckles show, with just him just being a overall badass in this film. It was nice to also see him save Sonic and Tails, and we'll get to Tails later, but I loved just the overall vibe of Knuckles in this film because he felt like the perfect portrayal of Knuckles. You couldn't ask for a better movie Knuckles.
Yeah,
Now let's talk about Mr. Miles Tails Prower. I will say that this is Miles, pun intended, better than what he was in movie 2.
hmm
They let Colleen do a lot more in this film than any other thing. Even in Sonic 2, where she does have some speaking roles, but like Tails is just only Sonic the Hedgehog can do this, and the Gadget Guy. Tails feels a lot more like his own character in this film, and it's also just a really good Tails portrayal. It was nice seeing Tails, want to be the one to save Sonic. Obviously, he still has some more room to grow. I am a little bit mad that it was Knuckles to save everybody, but it does kind of make sense. But I did want to see Tails save Sonic. But just having Knuckles be there helps with the base of ball thing. That base of ball thing at the end of the second movie, with them making that callback and knowing that they've like bonded over baseball is also really cute.
yeah, Knuckles. Mm,
I also
sorry,
like
it's very
the
hard.
I also like the
Yeah,
scene with
sorry.
oh sorry, blooper.
You continue. Yeah.
Yep. The biggest thing with Tails as well is that scene with Stone was really good. It was nice to see Tails interact with other characters, especially since I feel like he out of the trio he is the one that doesn't get the most screen time with anybody else.
Yeah, very nice. Very funny that he just admittedly calls Tails cute. Just
Yeah, because Tails is a cute little guy.
yeah, I mean, I don't blame Stone for that one.
Yes, yeah. Just overall, especially with that scene with them breaking in, it was nice seeing Tails show off more of his. He's a genius. It was nice to see him be a bit of a goofball. He felt more like the 8-year-old that we all know that he is.
Yeah, just loved how he he brought the team to the Child Garden, which I gotta say this, jingle jangle is Child Garden geese, everyone. Just gotta do that for because we will never get a Child Garden game, will we? That's
Yeah.
just me being me.
I also like the detail that there was a Knight's Chow. That was a really cool Easter egg.
Oh man, if only I picked up on that. Just I was in awe of the whole movie. I'll tell you.
Yeah, the entire stuff in Tokyo was fantastic. Now let's talk about the Blur himself when we're talking about Japan, the one that started all Sonic. Out of all the characters in the movie franchise, of all the game characters that they brought in, Sonic has been the most shakiest. But I love what they do in this film. The puns are a little bit too much, but that's just Sonic for you. He's a punny guy, and when he makes a good joke, it did get a chuckle out of me.
Yeah.
And seeing him mature, especially throughout that final act, was really nice to see. And I'm really happy to see that they took their lessons from the first two films and made Sonic more of his modern self. Because it does feel like Sonic started to grow up during that third and final act, honoring what he said to Tom earlier about about trying to make the right decision. And we get to see Sonic fail as well, which is also nice to see with him messing up and acknowledging failure, which is something that I don't feel like the games and the comics do as much.
Yeah, it's always nice to know. It's always nice to see the hero fail and learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, it was just nice to see an overall just Sonic being Sonic. This felt like Sonic for the most part, and I'm really thankful that everybody involved knocked it out of the park because this was a really good experience.
Yeah.
And since there's one more hedgehog left in this film until we get to that post-credit scene talk, let's talk about Sonic and Shadow's dynamic because I feel like we haven't talked about Shadow enough.
All right. Yeah. The main duo, Yin and Yang, or Coke and Pepsi, or whatever else kind of
Sonado.
thing.
Don't look that up. I'm joking.
Do look that up.
Yeah. Yeah, Sonic and Shadow in this film are perfect. I love everything with their dynamic. Shadow felt more like himself in this and in Sonic Shadow Generations than he's felt since the early 2000s. Keanu Reeves did a fantastic job along with all the other voice actors. They did a fantastic job just talking into the microphone and delivering the lines. Shadow in this film is serious. He feels a lot like what they did with Knuckles in the second film, but just done better.
Yeah.
The emotional beats were there with Shadow, which is something that you have to get right. If you want to get Shadow right, besides him looking cool, you have to get his emotions right. Shadow isn't an inherent bad guy. He is just someone with a lot of pain who's been burnt a lot, and he saw his best friend die in front of his eyes. If I dealt with that, that would make me a bad person. That, in the eyes of some people, that would make me angry. That would make me want to take revenge. And seeing him come to terms with trying to make peace is really nice to see, especially bringing up the stars line that Maria told him, which was just a perfect icing on the cake for Shadow. Yep. That final act of the film, we briefly talked about it and alluded to it, but that final act was probably the best thing to ever come out of the movie franchises.
Yeah, they really went all out with the final act. Just full on great fight scenes. Let's not forget the Live and Learn song.
Yeah,
and
that was great to hear in the theater.
Yeah. And also Eggman obviously being the hero, like full on hero this time around.
Yeah, that was a really good scene. And just like overall just hearing Sonic and Shadow talk it out as we talked about briefly earlier with them just talking about like their differences and stuff. It was just so nice and cool to see the first initial fight between them where they're both going at each other's throats. Just everything about that final scene those final scenes was brilliant and fantastic. And I'm really happy that we got to see Eggman go out with a bang, if that truly is the final time we do see Eggman. Literal bang.
Yeah. Very noble of him. Like, I was surprised to see him go.
Yeah, Gerald's death was also probably the funniest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Love it when... Just like, full on build up and then... gone.
Yeah. I love it when for a movie to do that right to me, like, you have to, like, get it right. And it was the perfect amount of goofy and suspenseful. It just made my day, and that was just perfect.
Especially for the Robotniks.
Yeah. I do like that Tom is okay at the end, showing that, everyone does deserve a second chance. Like, everyone was good. Seeing Shadow, carry off the arc and just seeing the entire explosion thing, it was beautiful. That final hug that Sonic and Knuckles exchange was also just awesome to see.
Yeah.
I am kind of sad to know that that we got to see, as I said earlier, with Tails, him not being able to save Sonic, but Knuckles coming in clutch was really cool to see, and it just shows that they do love each other like brothers. Sorry, Knuckles fans, but they just felt like brothers in this film, and it was just so nice seeing them all look out for each other. Seeing as an older brother figure, I will disagree with my siblings. Everyone will have a disagreement with anything, so just seeing them all just be there and just be happy for each other is brilliant.
Yeah.
I do also like that ending part with that big... I really want to make that s'mores that they made at the end, but if I even, like, look at it, I'm going to gain 20 pounds.
Yeah. They look
God, what I would give to have a
good.
fast metabolism. But yeah, just, like, everything about that final thing. Eggman's final message to Stone not only sold me on their connection, but just sold me on, like, everything about what they've built up these last three movies. Stone being called a friend to Eggman was brilliant, and just seeing the emotion, Lee Majidub did a fantastic job throughout this entire film, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, especially excited for Sonic 4 since, well, who knows if he may come back or not.
Yeah. Speaking of Sonic 4, that post-credits scene. Getting pinged in the middle of talking about the post-credit scene. Perfect. This is a final reminder. If you've heard everything up to this point, and if you do not want to know what the post-credit scene is, I highly advise that you drop out now and come back to this later because I want extra views and money when we eventually make money. Okay. Amy and Metal. My god.
Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. I tell you that.
I mean, people could say that, you know, hey, I thought if they were going to do Metal and Amy, I thought it would be a Paramount Plus show. And, like, we get to see, like, the same way that we got to see Sonic. I mean, we got to see Knuckles, where they just, like, go back in time and do the Time Stone stuff, because I don't know how Metal and Amy would work in a movie, but just seeing that scene with that hammer coming in with all of those Metal Sonics really got me hyped to see Amy in the movie. Originally, I thought it was going to be a Sonic 06 thing, because I saw the purple streaks with Mephiles. I thought the purple streaks were Mephiles instead of Metal. I'm like, oh my god, we're getting Mephiles. But as soon as I saw those red robot-y eyes, I'm like, oh, shiitake mushrooms.
Oh, snap.
I'm very proud of myself for just keeping it together on that first watch through. I mean, everyone else was going insane. It's like, oh yeah, we're getting this. I don't know if we're gonna get movie Son Amy, because Amy did kind of in that brief scene that she doesn't talk, she does give me Mario movie Peach vibes, which is fine. I don't think Amy should be a damsel in distress anymore.
Yeah, just, like I said, let her do her own thing. Be the woman or hedge woman or whatever kind of thing you want to call her that she is.
Yeah, and speaking of that post-credit scene, I do have a theory, and this is gonna be probably turned into a YouTube short. I think Eggman survived that big explosion, because at the end of the movie, it looked like a big universe. So my theory is he still has that quill on him. I think he got sent to the future. What are your thoughts
I
on
have
that?
nothing. I think that's pretty intriguing.
Because we get to see everything else in this film was so kind of set up-y, but just knowing that we got to see Amy with that hood, I think she was just undercover from the future. My other theory on where these Metal Sonics are coming from is maybe from Stone, but I don't think Stone has one of the quills. If Stone would have done anything with creating multiple robots, I think it would have been Shadow Androids, but we don't get to see that, so I'm excited to see what they do next, because I feel like this movie's going to pull more from CD and Heroes than anything else.
Yeah, time travel. Everyone loves that.
Yeah, and time travel means my official too early to predict prediction for Sonic Movie 4's post-credit scene. I think we will see Silver the Hedgehog, because if you want to do CD, you have to do time travel. I feel like Silver's going to feel a disturbance with time, and that's going to set up the Iblis trigger.
Iblis trigger and all sorts of time shenanigans. Who doesn't know?
Him, the Iblis trigger. I'm so hyped and excited to see what they do next with Amy and Metal. So, what are your predictions for the next post-credit? 2 early predictions for the next post-credit scene.
I honestly have no predictions.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see if we're still doing this in 2027 when Sonic 4 comes out to see to see if I'm right. You know, God's grace, if we get to past 3 years of this, which I would love to do. And with me talking about what I love to do, I think that was everything.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching the podcast of Disaster. Our goal is to upload every Tuesday and Thursday. So, thank you guys again for watching us, and see you all next time.
See ya.